Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another weekend workshop. We're so thankful that you have shown up today, that you are here to learn all about RISE, which is such an exciting organization. It's, of course, a national organization, the only one of its kind in Canada, and we're so excited for you to hear from Sarah Miller today and to get into this wonderful topic. While we're just getting started, I'll invite you to introduce yourselves in the Zoom chat. If you'd like to drop a note, let us know where you're connecting from, perhaps what your business is about, and if there's a link and you'd like to put it there. And as folks continue to join, I'll make sure that they get to join into that networking aspect of the workshop as well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie Ramsey, and I'm the project manager for the Weekend Project, which is led by Queen's University and funded by Queen's Partnerships and Innovation. And I'll also acknowledge that Queen's University is situated on the ancestral territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. Some of you may be aware that June is National Indigenous History Month, which is a great opportunity to acknowledge and honor the history, the culture, and resilience of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis Nation. So I encourage you to take some time this month for sure, and anytime, to learn more about Indigenous peoples and to explore our collective past, because knowing and acknowledging the past and its ongoing impacts is the first step towards healing and reconciliation. So welcome, everyone. As I mentioned, I'm excited for you to get to know Sarah Miller and to find out a little bit more about RISE. So welcome today. I'm going to pass you the virtual microphone, Sarah. I know you have so much in store. Just before I do, I should mention, we're going to hold questions till the end, at which point we will turn off the recording so that people can ask questions freely if they wish. And of course, later on as well, you can drop them into the Zoom chat if you prefer to do that. All right, so over to you, Sarah. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's really nice to be here today. My name is Sarah Miller, and I am a business advisor with RISE. My contact details are here if you want to screenshot it. I'll also have them up at a slide at the end. So if you don't have them now, you can get them at the end. So what is RISE? So RISE is an organization that helps to support individuals who have mental health and/or addiction conditions that are getting in the way of their stable employment. And we believe that entrepreneurship and having small business ownership is a really positive step for people to take control of their finances and take control of their time and really of their lives. And so often people struggle to access lending from traditional lenders. And so RISE has kind of stepped into that spot to help people who kind of fall through the gaps of the traditional lending process. We're the only national charity of its kind, and we support business growth by investing in people and their ideas. We have really specific types of programming. The small business lending is just one of the offerings that we have. We also help people through business training programs, as well as offering mentorship. And we think that wraparound support is really important for people to help get them started, but also to help keep them in business. So RISE is located across the country. I'm based in Kingston, but there's many of my colleagues who are spread across from British Columbia all the way to the East Coast. And we often work in partnership with other community organizations. So here in Kingston, I work in partnership with Keys, and my office is based at Keys. But there's across the country, there's a lot of different organizations that help people, whether it's mental health organizations or employment organizations. So we are really about kind of partnerships. Just in terms of some of the numbers, we have distributed over $2.5 million in capital to loan recipients since we started. We have an over 88% repayment rate, which is really amazing. We offer a lot of free training, which I'm going to tell you a little bit more about. A lot of our organization runs on volunteers, volunteer mentors, volunteer subject matter experts. And so it's a really great community. Not only do we help people with giving them loans, but we also help build their network. When we choose mentors for people, we're looking for people who not only have the experience that you might need, but also who are already connected into a larger network that you might be interested in forging connections with. So what do we do exactly? We're a character-based lender. So if you've gone to the bank before, you've probably tried to get a loan, or maybe with Futurepreneur or BDC, and you know right away that if your credit score is not the right number, then you're not going to be approved. It doesn't really matter who you are, what's going on. And so we look at credit scores, but our decisions are not based on credit scores. We look at a bigger picture of the entrepreneur, who they are, what their business is, and kind of the context of how they're coming to Rise. We have different types of loans and different sizes. The maximum loan amount that we lend is $10,000. But on average, most people start out with a loan around $4,200 or so. We offer business consulting as well as mentoring. So part of my job as a business advisor is to work with my clients to help create a structure for their business that works, not just in the financial sense, but also that works for them as an individual and what's going on with their life and the capacity that they have right now. I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about the different training opportunities that we have. We offer free business training to different types of groups, and that's available to anyone to sign up for. And we also connect people to their communities and to a larger network through mentoring. So the small business lending is the part of Rise that I work for. So that's people applying for low interest loans to grow their business or start their business. Part of the process is that if your loan is approved, we match you with a mentor that will support you for 12 months after the disbursement. And you can get help in terms of whatever kind of support that you feel like you might need. We'll try and find a mentor who has that. Sometimes people come to Rise and they're not quite ready for a loan yet. And that's where the training programs come in. We have a bunch of different types of training programs. They're listed on this slide. We have ones that are self-paced that you can do online. We also recognize that some people don't like to learn on their own. And so we have cohort-based training as well. And those fall into different categories. We have some specifically for youth. There's one listed here. We just got a bunch of funding to support women, and that's women, non-binary people, and trans women specifically. And that's stuff that will be starting in September of this year. So there's more information coming about that, but we just got the funding. So we're still setting up all of our documentation and figuring out how that will work. But there's more information on our website about the different types of training, and all the applications forms in terms of how you would apply for these programming is also accessed through the Rise website. Just gonna let someone in. So I'm gonna guess that most of you are here to learn a little bit more about the lending process. I'm just gonna take a drink of water. So Rise has loans specifically for events, which are called event loans. So maybe you're a vendor and there's a trade show coming up, or you're want to do a pop-up food stall. We have event loans that can be specifically for an event, or we have what are called small business loans, which can be for a larger amount. And the interest rate that we charge is tied to the Bank of Canada. So when the Bank of Canada rate goes up, like it did yesterday, it means our loan rates go up. When that rate goes down, our loan rates go down. And so it just depends on when you apply, what's happening with the business cycle with the Bank of Canada. But the business advisor that you're working with will always be very clear in advance with you about what the interest rate that you're looking at is. Business advisors, part of the process of the loan application is creating a business plan and a 12-month cash flow. Some people show up with those documents kind of in draft form, ready to go. Some people have never done that, both totally okay. The business advisor's job is to help you create your business plan. We have templates. We can work one-on-one with you. You know, we recognize that people have really different skills. For some people, that stuff is really easy. For other people, it can be really intimidating. And so part of our job is to support you in a way that actually is supportive. And so that's a bit of a conversation about like how you feel supported and how you want to move forward. The typical time frame from starting an application to kind of getting a decision is around 4 to 6 weeks. but that's an average. Some people come in and they really want to push it and try and go faster. And if you have all of your documentations in place, that's totally possible. Some people, you know, that's too fast for them. And so really the client is in the driving seat. Like I'm not, you know, none of the business advisors are going to push you to a specific timeline. Really, we want to work with you and make sure that you feel comfortable with what's happening and that the process isn't stressful. Like we don't want to exacerbate anybody's stress at this point. So we'll work with you in a timeline that is preferable to you. As I said, if your loan application is approved, one of the conditions of getting the loan disbursed is that you agree to work with a mentor. And we try really hard to find a mentor, as I said, that's really suited to the skills that you want to develop, and also to the industry that you are within. And so the mentorship is a really great opportunity. In my opinion, it's for 12 months, but often people really find so much from their mentors that they keep in touch with them. And so it really depends on you and how you want to work, but that is a non-negotiable in terms of the loan disbursement. So RISE, the organization, provides the loan capital that supports the small lending program. And there's no fee to apply to the lending program. And there's also, besides the interest rate that you would pay, there's no fees. Like if you say your business is super successful and you can repay your loan earlier, there's no fees or penalties to do that. So the capital that RISE provides, we're not generating income based on the loan capital that we have. If you repay your loan early, we just literally take that money and lend it to someone else. So just so you know, there's a lot of flexibility with how we lend, especially if people are in communication with us. So, we recognize things can happen. Maybe that's a health crisis or something comes up and you can't make your loan repayment that month. That's totally okay. Just let us know. And our loan manager can work with you to figure out how to restructure your repayments. So we try to be really flexible with people who communicate with us and try and help them out as much as possible. We don't want to be punitive in the same way that other financial institutions can be. So what are we looking for in a client? We have some eligibility criteria, which I will talk to you about in a minute. So obviously we need our clients to meet our eligibility criteria. Also, we want people to show up who have viable business ideas, preferably having people who have already tried to test their market, or are already in business. So a lot of my clients are already in business and they're looking to scale their business. Sometimes people have an idea and they have some experience, but they just don't have the capital for equipment. But often we're looking for people who have already been trying to have the business, or they've worked in the industry that they're trying to move into. We're also looking for people who are willing to work with the business advisor to create and develop their cash flow and their business plan. And also people who are willing to be coached, who are willing to be in a relationship with a mentor in the sense of meeting with them and being accountable for showing up to meetings, that kind of thing. So a little bit about our clients. This is the only graphic that moves in my presentation, so just so you know. More often than not, we have women who are clients. And the age range, I would say generally, it's people who are kind of in their mid-20s to their mid-40s. We work with all types of people in all sorts of situations. And so I'll talk a little bit about that eligibility next. The main intersection that RISE has positioned itself in is working with people who are interested in self-employment, who also self-declare as having experienced mental health or addiction challenges, and who cannot access traditional financing. So those are the core criteria in terms of our eligibility. More practically, we can only lend to people who are Canadian permanent residents or citizens. So right now, refugees do not qualify. If they're very close to getting their permanent residency, we can start the process. But at the time that the loan is approved, we need the person to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. Applicants need to be the age of majority in their province. If they're less than a year away, we can work with a parent or guardian who can be a co-applicant. We do not require people to provide a doctor's note or any other kind of healthcare professional's input related to their mental health or addiction challenges, completely self-declared. But we also need people to have tried to access financing from a traditional source. So sometimes I have people show up to meetings and when I ask them if they've tried to access financing, they're like, no, and they have a pretty good credit score. And so with those people, I have to say, you know what, I think you should try to go and see if a traditional lender will be able to help you, because you might be able to access more capital than what RISE can provide. Because we do have that 10,000 limit, that sometimes it's not really enough to suitably support a business that wants to start or that wants to scale. Sometimes it is, but those are the main applicant eligibility criteria. We do have some exclusions. So if you're not the majority owner of your business, if you do not have control of the decision-making of your business, then you are not eligible. You can apply in conjunction with the other owners, but we do not want to lend money to someone who does not have the majority control. We also can't lend to people who are in an undischarged bankruptcy, who are in consumer proposals less than 3 months. We don't lend to people who owe child support payments without a plan in place and 3 months of proven payments. And we also can't lend to people who owe money to the Canadian Revenue Agency, also without an approved plan and 1 month proof of payment. This is just because if we lend you the money, these organizations can then just take it from you and then you won't get to use it for your business, which is what we really want to happen. Also, if the applicant is really in crisis, it's not the right time to start a business. So we want applicants to prioritize any resolution, whether it's health crisis, mental health crisis, housing crisis, before they continue with the application, just so they can really focus on their business. If applicants can access financing from another source, they are not eligible. If an applicant is currently incarcerated, they're also not eligible, but once they are released from correctional services, it's totally okay to apply. There's also certain types of businesses and industries that RISE will not support. So because our mission is to support people with who are living with mental health or addiction conditions, we don't support businesses whose primary revenue comes from alcohol, from tobacco, from THC-based cannabis, from weapons, pornography, or gambling. We also don't support multi-level marketing styles of business. And on a case-by-case basis, we don't support businesses that are exploitative or harmful to the community. And so, sometimes things like that come up. I think only once I've had someone who came to me who wanted to develop an app to locate like casinos. And that was like, that's most of the time, I don't have these kinds of things. And it's also, it also kind of depends on the context and how, I have someone right now who is really interested in making swords and, for martial arts purposes, and that's really different than selling weapons for a different purpose. So it's, it can be really subtle. So talk to us about your ideas. That's a really important kind of way to start a conversation. I wanted to just talk a little bit about mental health, especially in Canada. 1 in 3 Canadians will be affected by mental illness in their life. Mental illness is characterized by a change in an individual's thinking, mood, or behavior, and it's usually associated with distress or impaired functioning, whether that's in a social, occupational, or other setting. Mental health is different than mental illness. So not everyone will experience mental illness, but everyone has mental health. And mental illness is something that has a really big impact, not only on individuals, but also on our economy. Every day, 500,000 Canadians don't go to work because of psychiatric reasons. There's obviously loss of productivity and cost to the economy. But I think one of the important things to remember is that mental illness is a disability. It's the leading cause. Mental illness and or substance use disorders are the leading cause of disability in Canada. And the reason I want to talk about that is because it's something that affects us all. Even if we are not personally struggling with a mental illness, we probably know people who are, and we all have responsibility to take care of our mental health. And one of the statistics that I find so interesting is 1 in 2 Canadians will have or have had a mental illness by the age of 40. Because I'm over that age, I feel like I definitely can see that in the people that I know. It's something that we are not very good at talking about, and it's something that there's definitely stigma around, and part of the reason RISE exists is to start conversations about this, and it's to start to break down the stigma that envelops mental illness. So I just wanted to reaffirm that mental illness is a very common thing. It's a leading disability. It is something that can be treated, and it's also not what defines people. It's not a person's choice to struggle with mental illness. It's not a personal failure. It's not a crime. In a survey of working Canadians, 75%, such a high number, said they would be reluctant or would refuse to disclose a mental illness to a coworker or to their employer. However, 76% of those same respondents stated that they would be completely comfortable and supportive of a colleague who had mental illness. So we can see this discrepancy. We don't want to tell people about what's going on, but if someone told us, we would be so compassionate towards them. And so this is the effect of stigma. This is the belief that we will be treated differently. We will be judged. We're afraid of losing our jobs. We're afraid of the negative consequences, and for good reason. Like, those are real things that happen to people all the time. And so one of RISE's missions is to talk about mental illness. It's to break down stigma, and that's through the actions that we take in terms of the programming that we do, but it's also just, in these outreach things, like with me, just talking about it to small groups of people. Just to go over stigma is pretty much stems from a lack of information or understanding about what mental illness is, how it happens, and it also comes from fear. It comes from not really understanding the context of how someone could get into the place that they're in. Stigma is seen as one of the key barriers that prevents people from getting help in the treatment for their mental illness or their substance use disorders. And it can lead to bullying, exclusion, all the way to discrimination and violence. I think the other thing that's important to talk about in terms of mental illness is that people with mental health problems are almost 3.5 times more likely to have problems with debt. There is a very clear link between financial insecurity and mental health problems. We all exist under capitalism, and in our capitalistic societies, financial security is a very literal thing. We need currency, we need money to be able to protect ourselves. If we don't have emergency funds, we can't access food, we can't access shelter, we can't access the healthcare that we need. And more and more we see people who are slipping through the safety nets that we have created here. It's a vicious cycle. Mental health issues can make it harder to access and manage financing, and having financial problems can also make it harder on our mental health. There's a lot of anxiety that comes with that. So I'm just talking about this because it brings us back to RISE, which is what we do. We're here to support people by investing in them, in terms of their ideas and in terms of helping them create meaningful employment for them. What we see in terms of our impact in the short term, working with clients, helping them to build their confidence, helping them to build the support networks that they have, their skills in the medium term, job creation, specifically meaningful employment, decreasing family stress, decreasing reliance on social assistance, if that's what's important to that particular client. And in the long term, really helping create social inclusion, helping to improve the quality of life for individuals, creating a sense of purpose, sense of meaning, and decreasing stigma. So again, my name is Sarah Miller, and Rise's website is here. Feel free to check it out. This is my contact information. If you have any questions that you don't want to ask in the chat, we won't record the chat, but again, sometimes people just don't want to talk in a Zoom meeting, and that's totally understandable. So feel free to reach out to me. And that's the end of my presentation. So I think we'll stop recording and then we'll do questions.
I'll do exactly that. So thank you. I just want to thank you before we do stop recording, because I know there will be people who watch this on our YouTube channel later. So just make sure to reach out to Sarah. Thank you so much.